a couple of other things, perhaps, that you might have asked Boris Johnson about if you had access to him at that press briefing last night. The first is James Dyson. This story is absolutely staggering. I mean, genuinely staggering. And as with all the rotten things happening in this country at the moment, bizarrely, it leads back to Brexit. You may remember at the beginning of the coronavirus crisis when the shortage of ventilators was acute and frightening. And for reasons that many of us couldn't quite understand, JCB and Dyson were constantly being trumpeted by the Prime Minister as companies that would gallop to our rescue. JCB being led by a chap called Bamford, Dyson being led by a chap called Dyson, were among the only business leaders to come out in support of Brexit. No matter, of course, that James Dyson had transferred operations more or less entirely to Singapore. He was a household name, and he was one of the only household name business people, apart from the poor fellow from Wetherspoons, who was in favour of Brexit. So it is being suggested that when big engineering companies and automotive companies were on calls about coming up with ventilators, there was much confusion among people who could actually deliver as to why so much homage and attention was being paid to companies that other professionals felt probably couldn't. Neither Dyson nor JCB in the end actually delivered any ventilators. But what the BBC have got hold of is a series of texts between James Dyson and the Prime Minister simply asking whether or not, if they came back to Britain to work on these ventilators, could they carry on paying their tax in Singapore, please? Which means that we live in a country where doctors, nurses and carers on the very front line of fighting the coronavirus were paying their taxes. They got nothing. I think they even paid taxes on their bonuses. If you're a nurse and you put your life on the line fighting coronavirus, you got a round of applause every Thursday night. If you're one of the richest people in the world, 60 billion quid, I think I read this morning. If you're one of the richest people in the world and you've already moved operations to Singapore, but you're coming back in the hope of securing the biggest PR boost of all time by conjuring up some ventilators that most people in the relevant area of expertise never thought would fly, then you can personally text the Prime Minister and ask for special treatment. Here are the replies from Boris Johnson. I will fix it tomorrow! ! We need you. It looks fantastic. Rishi says it is fixed. We need you here. And then Dyson replies, thanks. I will give the ventilator our all. James. And then later, dear Boris, I'm afraid that we need a response to our letter below from Rishi, please. And this is the bit about having exemptions from the normal tax arrangements that you would expect. And Johnson replies, James, I am First Lord of the Treasury, and you can take it that we are backing you to do what you need. Which in the event was naff all. So if you're one of the 3 million people that was completely ignored by Rishi Sunak during the period of furlough, during the lockdowns, if you're one of the 3 million people whose businesses have faced untold problems, I'm presuming you've been offered some sort of tax break, you've been offered some sort of special treatment, right? Nurses, you got a tax holiday, right? Nurses, if you're on minimum wage in a care home, you're allowed to pay your tax at Singapore rates, right? Right? No? Oh.